Hello and welcome to The Discriminating Gamer, the board game review show that was immortalized in Stanley Kubrick's classic film Barry Lyndon. Speaking of Stanley Kubrick, we're going to go ahead now and take a look at Risk Star Trek from USAopoly and Hasbro. Because Stanley Kubrick directed one of the Star Trek films. Yes, he did. Yes. The one with the whales. In Risk Star Trek from USAopoly and Hasbro, 2 to 5 players are going to attempt to expand throughout the galaxy in the hopes of expanding. Ladies and gentlemen, the game has, of course, 2 parts to it. You can play the basic game, which is essentially Risk in Star Trek, or you can play kind of a little more fun and interesting game, which is Mission 2, The Final Frontier. Here's how you do that. Now, the game board is, of course, a map of the galaxy. You've got, of course, the Federation space in the middle. You've got Romulan space, Klingon space, Cardassian space, Ferengi space, and a lot of space. So there's all these different planets within these different sectors. Of course, sectors have sector bonuses, kind of like in regular Risk. So you all start out in very small sectors of the board. Of course, as you get out, you're going to come in contact with other players. But there are also NPCs. There are alien life forms that, through drawing cards, you're going to find out where they go on the board. So when you get to them, you're actually going to fight these NPCs. The person next to you is going to roll the dice for them. So expanding is a little bit more than just moving into a new sector. You actually have to conquer it, even if another player is not necessarily there. Now, in this game, you're taking on roles of the different Star Trek captains. You can be Kirk, you can be Picard, you can be Sisko, you can be Archer, or you can be the other one. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, the reason why you're all fighting and in conflict with other Starfleet captains is because Q's kind of manipulating things, and he's kind of playing around with you, so that's kind of the thematic excuse here. But essentially, what you do is you have a deck of cards called Q cards. Now, you pick up these Q cards, and they're going to have different funky, random things are going to happen to you around the board. They may help you, they may hinder you, they may do things for all the players, or really none of them. But what's going on is you're going to draw one of those cards at the beginning of every turn, and then, of course, you take your turn as normal. You move into other territories. If you have to fight, of course, the attacker rolls 3 die, defender rolls 2. You pair off the highest rolled dice together, and you play process of elimination. You figure out who wins. And there are different tokens on the board called Q quests, and they're going to say, you know, the first player to do this or the first player to do that can claim that. So at the end of your turn, you can claim that Q token. And if you're the first person to get 3 of these Q quest tokens, they will win the game. But there's a little bit more going on here. Now, when you receive reinforcements at the beginning of your turn, just like in regular Risk, you also get a number of credits. You get money, and this money is important because it's going to allow you to do some different things. The big thing is activate your crew. Now, each of the captains comes with 6 crew members, 6 crew member cards. You can pick 4 of those crew member cards to add to kind of your little player sheet. Now, what that means is each of those guys has various abilities, like they may give you a +1 to attack die rolls, or they may just allow you to move all your die to 6, or they may give you a different maneuver action, of course, which is in Risk. After you move, you can maneuver units. But they cost money to use. They cost these credits, so essentially you have to spend so many credits to activate the cards. You flip them over, you can't use them again that round. Once, of course, it comes back to you, you can flip them over, you can do it again. There's a few other little things going on here. There are star bases that you can conquer that will give you more bonus resources, more ships during the reinforcement phase. There's the neutral zone, which you can only attack across with only 2 ships at a time, making it a little more difficult for the attacker. So there's a few other little things going on. There's also the tribbles. Now, they're activated by one of the Q vents, and they come on the board and do all sorts of fun and interesting things, and it's pretty much the weirdest component I've seen in just about any board game I've ever played. Now, of course, in this review, I'm assuming you've played Risk. You know the basics of Risk, and I don't want to go over those again. You know, you got the reinforcement phase, you go, you fight, you conquer, yada, yada, etc., etc. You draw cards. Okay, I'm not going to talk about Risk. This incorporates all the basics of Risk plus those other elements that I've told you about. Now, you can play just the regular game, which is just basic Risk, or you can do it where you add in the crew, you add in the Q vents, and the quest cards. Now, the first person to get 3 quest tokens is the winner of Star Trek Risk. So, first of all, just right straight up, this game is not thematic at all. I mean, they kind of got to dance around that with the kind of the Q manipulating things. Okay, whatever. But Star Trek was never about war. In fact, you know, I remember I always used to think of like Star Wars as like kind of sci-fi action or science fantasy action, whereas I tend to think of Star Trek as more sci-fi drama. It's got action in it, but it's more about kind of the drama and big science fiction ideas. So this is, I mean, thematic, not at all. It's just, you know, it's not thematic. Okay, but what about the game in and of itself? Well, again, it's Risk. You're playing Risk. If you like Risk, you like Star Trek, you'll like this game. But I must confess, I really rather did enjoy the spice and the sugar that the Q vents brought to it, and I really liked the victory conditions with the Q tokens, because again, it's pretty, like I said, it's pretty kind of random in a lot of ways, but still, for what Risk is, maybe it needed a little bit of that. Risk, just basic Risk, is kind of bland. That's why we see so many variations, and we've seen some really good variations. But this one in particular, I liked. I thought it was fun. I'm a sucker for the Star Trek theme, such as it is, and I think it, with the crew and you're spending your money, and you got to husband your money to see when you want to use those crew tokens, or crew cards rather, during the game is a lot of fun. All told, I really enjoyed this game. I had fun with it. You like Star Trek, you like Risk, and but you want something that's got a little more punch to it, but still is a fairly light war game. I would certainly recommend Risk, Star Trek Risk. You know, if you're looking for just a great Star Trek game, there are better ones out there. But for what this is, it's fun. I enjoyed it. Thank you once again for joining us today on The Discriminating Gamer. As always, we ask you to please leave a comment for us on YouTube, on Board Game Geek, on our Facebook page, or on thediscriminatinggamer.com. We ask you to please like us on Facebook, subscribe to us on YouTube, and follow us on Twitter. We are The Discriminating Gamer, and I gotta tell you, I love Star Trek, but I hated Voyager. I can't watch it. It's horrible. Bad characters, uninteresting, trivializing the Borg. It was just a mess. Don't like it.